Hi everybody. Okay, 3 days into our discussion of elasticities, we are going to move beyond discussion of price elasticity of demand and talk about three other kinds of elasticities. The cross-price elasticity of demand, the income elasticity of demand, and the price elasticity of supply, so moving from the demand to the supply curve. This is one of those nights where some of the stuff we've done previously is going to start making sense to you in a larger context, and that's always nice when that can happen. In the case of tonight and discussion of elasticity, we're going to start with a very short review of factors that change demand. So movement not along the demand curve, but actually a shift in the curve. Remember, there were 5 things that changed the demand curve. Price of related goods or services, changes in income, changes in tastes, changes in expectations, and changes in the number of consumers. Those are the things that told us that the curve would shift. What's nice is that elasticity helps us understand how much something is going to shift. So how sensitive quantity is to change in price. Tonight we're going to discuss 2 of these. We're going to discuss changes in the price of related goods or services and changes in income. Let's get back to that. Okay, first, discussion of cross-price elasticity of demand. Cross-price elasticity of demand has to do with related products. So looking back here, changes in the price of related goods or services. So let's talk about that. Well, here I've chosen 2 products that I would consider pretty good substitutes for one another, Coke and Pepsi. The cross-price of elasticity of demand is defined as the percent change in the quantity of a product A demanded, over the percent change in the price of B. So let's look at an example here. If the price of Coke goes up 2%, Coke here is product A, and the demand for Pepsi as a result, the demand goes up 4%, then the cross-price elasticity of demand using this formula is 4, that's the change in quantity of Pepsi demanded, divided by 2, the change in price of Coke. So 4% divided by 2% equals 2. Because the cross-price elasticity of demand is positive, Coke and Pepsi are substitute products. There's the definition, substitute products when the cross-price elasticity of demand is positive. And it stands to reason that if these are relative substitutes, the price goes up in one, the demand for that's going to go down. You'll see movement along the demand curve, which means that you're going to have an increase in demand for another product. Look at complements. So for this example, I've chosen gas and SUVs, complementary products. If the price of gas, product A here, goes up 20% and the demand for SUVs goes down 5% as a result, the cross-price elasticity of demand, again calculated by percent change in quantity of A demanded over the percent change in price of B, means percent change is 5 negative, in this case, negative 5 because it went down, over 20, which is the price of gas having gone up 20%, it's negative 0.25. In the case of cross-price elasticity of demand, keep in mind that signs matter. If we are positive, then we have substitutes. The cross-price elasticity of demand positive, we have substitutes like it was here. If it's negative, like we have here, then we have complementary products. And again, give it this sort of reasonability test. If the price of gas goes way up, what's going to happen to the demand for a gas guzzling product like SUVs? Over time, it will go down. Let's move on to the income elasticity of demand. The income elasticity of demand is measured by the percent change in quantity demanded over percent change in income. Thought of another way, it's sensitivity of demand for products, quantity demanded, as income changes. Let's look first at normal goods that have positive elasticity. Normal goods by definition have positive elasticity. So let's say in 2 examples here, income goes up 5% and demand for the Bugatti car, this one happens to be a $2.8 million car, so it's high on the luxury scale. If demand goes up for 10% as a result of national income going up 5%, the income elasticity of demand is 10% over 5% or 2, and it's positive, so it's a normal good. Similarly, if national income goes up 5% and demand for vegetables goes up 1%, the income elasticity of demand is 1 over 5 or 0.2, positive. So it also is a normal good. Here's why I called both of these out. There's something here called income elastic and income inelastic products. Elastic versus inelastic, you remember that, greater than 1, less than 1. There are some products for which there is a greater corresponding change in the quantity demanded than others, similar to what we've talked the last 2 nights. Income elastic products are those where the positive elasticity is greater than 1. There are those for which the positive elasticity is less than 1. And in this case, these are both true. Luxury items tend to be income elastic, and things like healthy foods are relatively income inelastic. Now, healthy foods, people do eat more as income goes up, but the change in quantity demanded does not keep up with the overall changes in income. Now let's talk about inferior goods and negative elasticity associated with that when it comes to income. Income goes down 5% and demand for Spam goes up 10%. Right here, you should be keyed off by differences in movement, opposite movements. Income elasticity of demand is 10%, so that is change in demand over income, which had a negative change here, went down, so it's -2. So it's by definition, because negative goods have inferior goods have negative elasticity, it's an inferior good. And in fact, a product like Spam, last time there was a recession, the quantity of Spam demanded went up significantly. Again, signs matter in these two. Now about price elasticity of supply. Remember, we learned a few weeks ago there are several factors that shift supply, 2 of the most important being changes in input prices. So the price of items that are inputs to the supply of a product, and the price of related goods. So let's take a look again at how we determine how much change is going to happen in supply. Well, the definition of price elasticity of supply is the percent change in quantity supplied over the percent change in price. Now, again, measures change. This elasticity measures changes in supply in response to a change in price. So keep in mind that it measures changes in the supply curve. The 2 most important things that impact price elasticity of supply are availability of inputs and time. Those are the 2 things that most directly and either positively or adversely affect price elasticity of supply. Let's think about why that is. Well, when price goes up, producers are naturally, all other things being equal, producers are going to want to supply more, and they're going to want to supply it as quickly as possible. Well, if a producer can get more inputs quickly, so input and time, they can get more inputs quickly, the elasticity of supply will be higher because the producers will increase supply to respond to those increased prices. Think of it this way. This number gets bigger as this number gets bigger. And this number gets bigger only if producers can increase the amount supplied. Right here, quantity supplied. The faster they can do that, the faster they're going to be able to respond to a change in price, and the larger this number is going to be. If it's a 1% change in price and they can only supply 2% increased product, that's going to be a smaller number, in this case 2, than if they can respond to a 1% increase with a 5% increase in quantity supplied. Well, what's the limiter there? Availability of inputs and time. Let's take 3 examples to see if we can figure this out. First here I have is the supply of eggs. So let's say the FDA comes out with news that says that eggs are very, very, very good for you, more so than we thought, and distributors increase the price of eggs because they know demand will go up. They increase the price of eggs, and what happens to supply? And how quickly can producers get more eggs out there? Well, probably measurable in weeks, because you can only get a hen to lay so many eggs, but you could grow new chickens and a chicken in, let's say, 6 weeks or so, that chicken can be laying eggs. That I would consider to be high in elasticity, because in a matter of weeks, you can go get more eggs out there. Another example here, corn. Let's say that the price of corn goes way up because other nations are starting to demand our corn supply. Well, that's going to make a shift in the demand curve. That's going to move price up, and corn producers are going to be asked to get more corn into the marketplace quickly. How quickly can they do that, though? They've already planted their corn for this year. They're only going to get a finite amount from a harvest. I would put this one in medium elasticity, because they can't move this as fast as they think they can or as fast as they'd like to. Now, you could make an argument that says, yeah, but there's always a lot of excess corn. Assume for this, all things being equal, that there isn't a bunch of extra supply sitting around. We're in a market equilibrium, and they'd have to wait. This one probably be measured in 12, 13, 14 months. Now let's take an extreme example here. This is a satellite. Let's say there's suddenly an increase in the price of satellites because demand for satellites from the military has gone up. Satellites take years to produce. So there is no way that the price elasticity of supply is going to be high for satellites, because this is measured in 2, 3, 4 years to get a new satellite built. So I would say that the price elasticity supply in this case is going to be relatively low. Okay, that's really it. Those are the key things for the 3 items that we needed to discuss tonight: cross price elasticity of demand, income elasticity of demand, and price elasticity of supply. Have a great night, and I'll see you in class tomorrow.